The recording works this week. No faffing around with editing that video today. So, welcome to Behind the Screen. Behind the Screen is something that I used to do on my old channel, and which Onyx Path have been gracious enough to... I am Smooth Kung Fu Fenris. Have been gracious enough to let me do on their channel. So, the whole concept of Behind the Screen is that there are loads of... This is for people who are new who may not have seen this before or heard this general disclaimer. The whole concept of Behind the Screen is that there are loads of GM tip videos out there telling you best practice, how to do something, things of that nature, but never how to do it never how to do it actually in practice, how to put it into play at the table. So my idea was combine GM tips with my preparation. I say preparation. This is creation of written content for the StoryPath Nexus. You'll notice it's behind the screen square brackets Scion. That's because the content's being created for Scion. When I finish this, which is an origin chronicle seed, I guess, I will move on to Hero, and then do other Onyx Path game lines. I've said before I might stay away from both vampire games because I play Masquerade and Requiem and I get the rules mixed up in my head all the time. So that's a problem. But there are obviously loads of other games out there, and Promethean is close to my heart, as is Changeling. Played Deviant recently on stream, or character creation session. That was really cool. So that's what Behind the Screen is, for those of you who may be wondering. It all goes up on YouTube a week after it airs on Twitch, because Twitch subs get week's exclusivity. Friendly reminder, if you have an Amazon Prime subscription, you get one free subscription a month. You do have to manually resubscribe. Mine is due to expire soon, actually. But you get sweet emotes, you help support the channel, build this community, etc., etc. Also, friendly reminder, if you like Onyx Path stuff, where did that link go? But don't check their social media often. There is a Monday update about Onyx Path projects, wherein you'll learn, for example, Scarred Land stuff, which Plastic Age Plays is very happy about. And that the Mummy the Curse 2nd Edition Kickstarter is next week, if I recall correctly from when I read it in a hurry this morning. Mummy was something I was always interested in, never really got the chance to really look into it the first time around. Hopefully stuff pays off enough that this time around I can... That looks like a broken command. Hopefully stuff works out this time that I can... RIP bot. Look into it more. It's a cool concept, as all of the Chronicles of Darkness game lines are, but still. And then hopefully one day maybe be able to do my own content on here, but that's obviously something, because Onyx Path, I believe, is always looking for submissions for cool game ideas and stuff. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, someone will then bot me and unmod me and I'll never be heard from again. But Chronicles is a bit above your crunch level. Please do explain. Obviously, this is Scion, which is extremely not crunchy, but still, it's general GM tips anyway. Scion, am I running a game? No, unfortunately, currently not. This is intended, as I say, as a product to go up on the StoryPath Nexus, which is the community publishing site. Doing it on stream to get input from the Onyx Path community. So if you know someone who might like this kind of content, or who likes Onyx Path content, who has a Twitch account, or who maybe doesn't but is au fait with creating accounts at websites, point them this way. Too many moving parts. Yeah, it's a lot to take in at first, but it quickly becomes second nature. And largely, it's as long as you keep good notes, you should be fine. But anyway, Scion is not like that. Scion is very... Well, it has conditions, but they're so much more abstract. So hopefully, Yes, that's the link that I'm interested in submitting content myself. So maybe. Cool. So Kung Fu Fenris, you might have ideas, you might take away stuff from this. But anyway, so my name is Ryan. I stream on Twitch as Comrade Bubbles. I'm on Twitter as Comrade Bubbles. I'm always happy to answer questions. That's why I've got the chat up. I check my Twitter semi-often. I stream 3 days a week. And I'm disabled. I might experience muscle spasming on stream. I might stutter. I might slur my words. I apologize for that. I don't apologize for being disabled because there's no point. But I apologize if it makes it difficult to understand me or it makes you unsettled. I know it can be discomforting for some people. I do struggle with multiple trains of thought. So if I see a question in chat, I'll acknowledge I've seen it and try and finish what I was talking about first. And I am always looking for ways to incorporate other stuff from other Ranks Past shows into this because I can't do guest characters or stuff. So this is crossovers as I can factor it in. So this is episode 5 of Behind the Screen. As I say, these go up on YouTube a week after airing on Twitch. So this should go up on my birthday, actually, on the 6th of November. Go me. Oh, no. Well, I'll probably put it up on the Wednesday just in case I put it up too early on the Tuesday. Tuesday's the 5th, Wednesday's the 6th, whatever. Bonfire night or my birthday, one of the two. Everything, if you're watching this and you haven't seen the previous stuff, they are in a playlist on YouTube on my channel. I don't know. Thank you very much. I don't know if there's any plans for Onyx Path to put these up on their YouTube channel. I don't imagine there would be because it's extremely unofficial, but whatever. Where the first episode was just 2 hours of me giving general GM tips. And then it's just more granular. The episodes are titled and everything, so it should be fine. Anyway, so quick recap. Last session. Man, I played D&D last night. My brain still in GM mode, even though I was a player for once. Anyway, so last stream 2 weeks ago. We just went through one introductory scene. As context, I'm writing the opening scenes of this Chronicle Seed, A Rude Awakening. Following my principles about intro games, because I run a lot of intro games, of having low stakes scenes followed by freedom scenes where players can explore, get to grips with the more sandboxy nature of role-playing games, and then an action scene to wrap it all together. So I just took that structure, extended it into a few, like 2 or 3 session context, and extrapolated from there. So the topic today, as with last stream, introductory scenes. These are scenes that may not get played by every group. If anyone indeed buys this product and plays it, it will be a pay what you want, because while I will credit the community, I do, money helps me to do things like this, so it will be pay what you want. So I don't mind if you pay nothing for it. Yes, so I know not everyone's comfortable with kind of spotlight scenes, at least in either new games or people who are just new to role playing in general. That's something that obviously you have to work with your players. So in the the 2 week gap, I was thinking I might just add in an optional introduction scene to get the players together somehow, which we'll probably do on stream, to take place of these introductory scenes if needed. I also realized that there's something I'm going to add to each of the introductory scenes, which probably I'll do with chat's help. I will point this way a lot because that's where my chat is on my second monitor. I'll try and look at the webcam, but I'm shy, so I'm probably just going to look at my notes for a lot of this. Obviously, you can see what I did last time on stream right now. I think that was all of it. All right, I can close this window now. If anyone wants, I can share the playlist link at the end of the stream as well. There we go. So this is what I'm talking about. So this is my extrapolated outline of a potential Chronicle Seed. Themes and mood at the top, as ever. As I've mentioned before, I'll mention it again. I always go with theme and mood first, and use that to determine everything. You'll notice that this should take characters to their visitation, although, as I've noted here, those could be seeded throughout scenes. In fact, I have an idea for one of them, but we'll see if it comes to fruition. So each scene is intended to present the location, a handful of suggested story guide characters, and some possible events to give direction to the scene, because it's just a scene to get the player familiar with the character. Problem I have with pre-gens is because I haven't invested time into building them, I lack that connection, so that's what this is designed to do. So Ash created Scion of Inari. Their introductory scene was a library fundraiser for a community centre. And for this stream, probably for the next stream as well, we're just going to be doing the rest of these introductory scenes in alphabetical order. Man, am I happy that Who By works in terms of both alphabetical by surname and by given name. Anyway, I do not speak Japanese. I do not speak either Mandarin or Cantonese. So I will probably butcher concepts and creatures and stuff for both Ash, Scion of Inari, and Who By, Scion of Chang'ar, I think. Isabel's a Scion of Heru, so, I'm going to butcher Egyptian. I'm studying Irish at the minute, so Liam is a Scion of the Tuatha, should be okay. Martina is a Scion of Apollo, so, English is based on Greek, so I think I'm okay at pronouncing those words. And Michael is a Scion of Balder, which is Norse, and I'll take a stab at those, although I do used to be conversationally fluent-ish in German. So I know some Scandinavian pronunciation kind of adjacent things, because they are a Germanic language. Anyway, so today, where are my notes? I think that's everything in my notes. General outlines, best practices, Ash's intro scene. Also my design notes will be included as an appendix material. Anything in double asterisk is a note to myself to include that in an appendix. That will be true here. And also something I did was, bam, SGC templates. Example SGCs. I will probably include design notes on these in line with the stat block out of the rulebook, actually. That seems to make more sense to me. I like giving things extras for a bit of narrative flair, so they're just there in case. They probably won't be needed. I do have the PDFs open to consult with. They're currently, not viewable on screen, but if I need to make a point, I will make them viewable and draw attention where needed. So, any questions before I get started? I'm going to take a swig of my drink. Got all kind of weird ways of pronouncing it yourselves. Oh, yeah. My favourite anecdote from my old German teacher who spoke Swedish also was that Swedish is German through a block nose. So I'm used to... I can get my tongue and throat and lips and teeth around odd sounds. So I should be okay. I'll take a stab, and I'm always happy to be corrected about things. But are there any questions before we get started? I guess is the difference between Danish and Icelandic is immense. Also, there's a C between them. That might explain it. But my facetiousness should not get in the way of my respect for languages. As storyteller, you find it good to listen to some music. Let's say it's a C game, find some music each there, or as a fight gets something puts. Yes, music never to be underestimated. One of my favorite musicians actually does allow streams to use his music. If anyone would like background music, I can, contact him. He just requires a credit, so I could figure that out, I guess. If anyone would like background music, or I could just put the pre-roll music on in the background in the future, just quieter. I would have to figure out some way of muting that in my headset. I don't know why I'm wearing this. I'm not listening to anything. It just, helps me get in the mood, I guess. But I know that just my voice is not the easiest thing to listen to, and that music might help. I don't know. Anyway, let's get started. about music. I generally listen to music when creating characters to help me get in the mood, or kind of play a character for a few sessions, and find a soundtrack for that character. It will change over time, but there's a good point. Black Plague, well raised. So, it's urban fantasy, so any modern music, I guess. Is it Stomp? They make music using everyday items. I'm always a big fan of Stein and Turnbull. If you want any kind of danger music, that's didgeridoo music with like rain themes. Modern music in general is pretty difficult. Ivan Torrent, I think it is, just pretty good epic music, or obviously Two Steps from Hell. Anyway, so today, my voice is sexy, thanks Black Plague. I'll take the compliment, no matter how winky it was. Anywho, so, that was unintentional. Hubai. So, Hubai's concept is cyber anarchist, and a chosen of Chang'e. So, that means that Hubai is not directly related to a god, in this case Chang'e, the Chinese moon trickster, but caught Chang'e's attention some way and was gifted the ability to, the potential to grow her legend. Something to bear in mind while I'm reading through the 3-line summary of Chang'e in my notes is that whatever happens during this short chronicle seed could be what grabs Chang'e's attention. So, there we go. So, as a background, life isn't easy when you're always traveling as a child. So, I just took the Globetrotter origin path from the origin book, but it gives you the skills to blend in as an adult, become one of the crowd, do whatever you wish to tear it all down. Who buys? I guess it'd be buys. Society path is one of the faceless mass, and create a new society of like-minded people, which is her organization path, founder of the Moon Collective, which I guess would be like a hackers group. So that's her general background. These will all be included with the character sheets. The character sheets are already made. Why is that word so hard to say? Are already made. I can, if you have any questions about things that might spur your ideas going and help me in turn, I can pull up the character sheet and consult it for you. That's no problem. You won't be able to see it unless you really want to. But as a hacker, you know what? It might be helpful for me to have it up, actually, so I can consult skills. Nope. Wrong folder, you idiot. There we go. I will put myself down a lot. That's just me. No worries. So Hubai's specialities are in hacking, technology, computers, online subterfuge, cybersecurity, academics, and online culture and leadership hackers. Yes, I was definitely leaning into a theme there. She also has the trickster calling, but I don't know if that'll really make any difference. I'll pull up the mortal knacks anyway, just in case. Trickster, there we go. So, obvious answer here is that Bai is in an internet cafe. So, unless anyone has a better idea, that's what I'm going for. Let's see. Where's my notes? Suggested location, handful of suggested destinations and possible events. So, assuming that everyone's happy with it being in an internet cafe, we're obviously going to have some staff. And as with last time, my NPCs, or SGCs in this case, are usually very basic. I will assign them an adjective and a need. So you'll notice up here the organizer/organization committee, SGC's charitable, honest, well-intentioned, and the needs to raise money to meet people to divert attention. Whether or not these apply to one person or to one to three people, to one person's charitable, one honest, one well-intentioned, etc. That'd be entirely up to this SGC or whoever decides to hop in. These possible SGCs, I realized I hadn't explained, are also background characters that other players at the table can hop in and kind of puppet for a scene so that they're not just sitting getting bored at the table. It's partly why I made the stat block, and partly because I just like making stat blocks. It's just location, tense situation around Crook's choice, their choice helping, willing or not, and then the person what's going on. It's a good idea. However, the inciting incident, which is going to affect all of them, will be crime related. But equally, they could be using the internet cafe for some minor crime. Doesn't have to. I mean, she's a hacker, so it probably would be, cyber crime. That's a good idea. Yeah, I realized I hadn't explained my master plan. Was that there's going to be some sort of thing happen at the end of each of these scenes. Maybe not the same thing for all the scenes, but that will impact all of them somehow. So they've all got some link to what's going on. Anyway, so staff, bored, tired, hungry, to make money, to make friends, to pass the time. There we go. Boom. Staff done. Obviously, there'll be clients, customers, sorry. Yeah, I should have made everyone on the same page as myself. However, I will put accomplices for now. So maybe there's a couple of members of the Moon Collective with Bai in this internet cafe. They're doing something, maybe planning something or whatever in a corner. Who knows? Staff, customers, accomplices, and let's see. Let's just say technicians for now. That is not how you spell technicians. There we go. Whoop. There we go. So, customers. 3 words for customers. Angry. Excited. And we'll go with addicted. Can always change it. Obviously, it's character traits for SGCs, sorry, can obviously alter the tone of a game. So if you don't want to be dealing with stuff like addiction, then stay away. That's fine. I'm not going to judge. I can't judge you. I won't know. But consent is important. Continual consent. To win, customers, they're very simple. They are in there for a reason already. So to win, to surf the web, to hide their activity. Make of that what you will. Accomplices. Worried. Nervous. We'll go with shy. I could come across as furtive. Might give some odd vibes at the tabletop if anyone decides to, use this product and roll with it in this manner. Worried. Nervous. Ow. Legs cramping. I also get muscle cramps a fair amount, so sorry about that. To not get caught. Advance is the wrong word, but I'll put it in air quotes. To advance in the collective. And to learn. Always very important, learning. It's the wrong bracket. There we go. And then technician. Frustrated. Confused. How did this get broken in this fashion? And Resigned. It's always going to be broken. Why bother? To fix the problem. To leave quickly. Sorry, there's some weird loud noises outside. To fix the problem, to leave quickly. And let us say third goal for third motive for a technician. To never come back again. It's a bit cynical. To show off. Show if. Why not? There we go. So, events. One of the staff, one of the customers. Hope the customer does not break it 5 minutes. Heck yeah. Actually, that could be the technician thing. One of the staff, one of the customers, one of the accomplices. There we go. One of the technicians. Again, I can't. Would you believe I'm a freelance proofreader? One of the technicians starts an argument. Because one of the customers breaks something that had just been fixed. Again, these events are intended to give some direction to the scene, but also to give some flavor, make it feel like the world. Little W. Help with the immersion, being like a any person situation. Argument can be with the customer saying the CD-ROM is. It could be. It could be. Break something that's just been fixed / is being used incorrectly. Oh, I have no doubt it has happened. I have no doubt. Let's see. Succeeds in their task, and then brackets. Oh no, the S is fine. Here's the problem. I'm not a black hat hacker. I don't know what people do in internet cafes. I don't know how truly anonymous they are. So what kind of minor? I guess phishing. Phishing email. Setup / identity stolen on social media. I don't really do that kind of thing. I know about the dark web and stuff, and I know obviously VPNs make a lot of things anonymous. I don't know what people would go to an internet cafe to do that they wouldn't do from their own home. I kind of want it to be petty crime, maybe petty, relatively petty crime. Maybe as an initiation thing, kind of prove that you can do it under stress, under pressure. Floor plans found, etc. This place you can't be tracked unless someone's tagging you. Yeah, the dark web, yeah. Spooky stuff. I kind of think it depends about looking into the XML changing there. Bill. Yeah. I'm just providing examples for what the task could be. This is all I guessed. This is all just kind of a seed to give the scene some direction. As I said in the notes that I now make that more formal and the final thing. But these are just suggestions. How's a medical emergency? Epileptic fit. Well, I'll put photosensitive seizure actually. Seizure because of undiagnosed sensitivity. Trust me, as someone who is sensitive to... I fortunately don't get seizures, but I am quite sensitive to flashing lights. You will not put yourself in that situation if you're sensitive to them. That's what looks wrong. Heart attack, electrical burn. From spilling drink. Although that could also, go on to being punched by a technician because of spilling drink. We've already got an argument. I don't want one of the staff to have an argument. One of the staff can't find something important. Keys, wallet, etc. Or someone asks the staff to help. Then find something important. A plague, yes, that is not an argument. I'll give you that. Oh, right, you need a comma before, etc. Insert all those missing commas. Okay, so there we go. So that's a list of possible events, story guide characters for an internet cafe. Obviously, the difficulty will come when I translate this into an actual document to provide some kind of structure outside of scene setting, and I'll probably do some boxed text to describe the setting of each of these scenes for those story guides who might not be comfortable making their own descriptions off the top of their head. So in alphabetical order and with proper formatting. Accomplice. I think it was heading 3. Yeah, heading 3. Accomplice. Customer, staff, technician. Again, proper formatting helps when navigating text documents. If you're doing anything like this at any point. I have seen the light, and it is shiny. Right, as above, I think we should have one professional level. Probably use that as the accomplice. Archetype. Mook. And Mook. Professional. So professional's primary pool is... So as a recap, for those of you who may not be familiar with Scion or who weren't here last time, story guide characters, minor story guide characters that you don't build a proper, a full character sheet for. They have this simplified stat block template, call it what you will. They're assigned an archetype at origin level: Mook, professional, villain, monster. Mook being the weakest, monster being this is probably a 1 SGC kind of encounter. Archetype determines health and dice pools. Some might have qualities. These are, let's get this correct, roughly analogous to boons, I think. Anyway, they're just extra flavor. Should always have a drive, which is largely going to be what we've already covered. And then they have a primary pool for mooks. This is 5 dice. For professionals, it is 7. I need to add some square brackets up here. Bear with me. The primary pool is the dice that they roll. To do what they're good at. So, for example, for a socialite, they're good at knowing someone or kind of getting things that they need. So the underlying drive of one of who buys accomplices would be to not get caught, regardless of personal ambition or intent. If you're the member of a hacker collective, you don't want to get caught, unless you do to make a point, I guess. But still. So the primary pool would be 7. Secondary pool is stuff that they can do, but they're not so good at. And then desperation pool is what they'll roll for anything else. So it's 753. So for professionals, it's 753. So 7 dice in the primary, 5 in the secondary, 3 in the desperation. For mooks, it's 542. They also get health, which is rather than health boxes, they just get health. They can take 2 hits. Professionals can take 2 hits before being knocked out. They get a defense of 2 and an initiative of 5. God of War's character origins is Spartan. He's still human, just FYI for new people. Are we on about Kratos? But yes, he would be. Anyway, so drive, not get caught. Primary pool. So these are hackers. So I assume no firewall can keep me out. Kind of covers hacking as well as things like cybersecurity knowledge, theory, perhaps. Also, who as one of Bai's paths is that's the wrong tab in Adobe, is one of the faceless masks. I figure these people are good at hiding in plain sight, at being one in the crowd. So I guess just your average person. So this I would envision more being kind of a adding complications, being a social stealth or something like that about trying to not stand out. Secondary, this is where it gets a bit weird, because when you're talking about large groups of people, obviously they're all going to have different skills. But maybe they have kind of paper-thin aliases, so the secondary pool could possibly be false papers. I'll just put false identity, to be fair. You don't always need an evocative phrase. Sometimes just saying what it is evocative enough. And let's also say, so they're one of the mass common person on the street. At the back of my hand. Probably leaning more towards maps and things. That kind of thing. But because usually that's like, I know the city like the back of my hand or whatnot. So that's kind of what I'm going for right there. Desperation pool, I don't know why I bothered with the colon, because you're never going to have anything in that. by the very nature of the fact that it's what you roll when you don't have anything else to roll. Health, as I say, antagonists, SGCs, they don't have injury conditions like player characters. They just have a health tracker. They have 2 hits in them. Defense, that's what it sounds like. Initiative, again, what it sounds like. Extras, I'm just going to put talented hacker, and then up here you'll see I've got +1 E to observation. This will be +1 E to computers. That probably works, right? Oh, wait, no, it'll be +1 E to the firewall can keep me out. Actually, let's go vague. Let's go even broader. +1 E to using a computer. So for those of you who are not familiar with this terminology, +1 E, +1 enhancement when using a computer. Enhancements are essentially automatic successes as long as you succeed on the roll. So as long as you pass whatever difficulty threshold the roll is, you just add enhancements to your margin of success. So that's fine. Sorry. Customer quality will obviously be to buy/use a service. That's in no way how you spell service or product. That's not a quality, that's a drive. Whoops. Pretty neat little mechanic. It is. It simplifies a hell of a lot. And again, those of you who may not be familiar, who are, watching this on YouTube or whatever, conversely, you have complications which don't prevent you succeeding at doing something. They add like a secondary layer of difficulty. So if you can sometimes succeed at the action, but you don't have enough successes to bite off the complications. So you still do the thing you want to do, but there is still a downside to doing it. It's such a good mechanic. Anyway, so I'm just going to add these square brackets so I don't have to do this every time. Good Lord, what was I thinking when I made this template? I wasn't. I was very rushed. I'm always very rushed on stream, you can probably tell. Because it's not... those are the wrong brackets entirely. I am aware that this isn't kind of the typical / favoured watching, viewing, whatever content. It is just a person talking to a mic and writing stuff. Anyway, and pronouncing words with weird inflections and extra letters. Like an way. Aspirated H in a word that doesn't need one. Breathe, I'm doing great. Thank you, Black Plague. Complication one's a reverse mechanic for it. Since you got opportunity mechanic, there's extra things you can buy with successes. I guess it's just stunts. Kung Fu Fenris. If I'm parsing the question correctly. And if there isn't, just think about what you... Well, I love talking about the craft as well, so that's, why I'm doing this. It's also... Like, this was originally supposed to be reviews, I think. I don't know. I was just going to be doing Onyx Path reviews on my blog, and then it became, do you want to do videos? And I was like, yeah, sure, I can try video reviews. And then it became this for 2 hours every 2 weeks. It's great. It's 542, right? Yeah. Nope, that's not 4. That's the 3. That's a 3 again. Why do I like the number 3? Gosh darn it. 2, 5. So close. 4. It's why I laugh at myself so much, because it's something to talk about. Put it this way, I would play a game like I said before, seems to be on the same wavelength anyways. Cool, I'll take that as a compliment. Sons of stuff the players make, I'm considering implementing the ways people consider acceptable consequences or something else instead, like predefined stunt options. What do you mean stunts are stuff the players make? Or do you mean as in, like, as the story guide, you want an extra option, like a story guide stunt, effectively? That is a horrendous way of explaining what I'm thinking about, but there we go. Anyway, primary pool for a customer. I guess it would be spending power. This is obviously something that if you were to use this in a wider context than the scene, you would have to alter, probably just add complications depending on how, or raise the difficulty even, depending on how the customer's perceived social standing and economic well-being equates to the product that they're trying to buy. Kind of presenting a gift basket that players might want to pick instead of buying off the complications. Well, there's always, if you want inspiration for anything like that, Powered by the Apocalypse games with the soft hit stuff. Like, you can do this, that's fine. But this minor thing, this thing will happen as a result. So succeeding, but at a cost, which is another way of looking at complications. And there's also a role-playing game coming out that, again, not on its path, so I probably shouldn't talk too much about it, but it took the PBTA example and kind of ran with it to, it's just called twists. You succeed at a minor or major twist to the narrative. Crunching that a few times. Well, I guess the obvious thing maybe would be look at tweaks in the origin. Tweaks are in origin, right? So shift one dot from one attribute to another attribute, or from one skill to another skill. Swap out an existing knack for a new knack. Write a new short-term deed. Those seem pretty good templates for something the player could opt for rather than buying off a complication. So let's see. So they're trying to do something, and we'll go back to the tell you what, we'll go back to the example I think in the rulebook. No tweaks. It's page 99. It's just before path. It's at the end of character creation. But maybe rather than have the complication of like a 1C barbed wire at the top of a wall, they have the option to shift, let's say, a technology skill dot to an athletics skill dot. Assuming they haven't already used a tweak, obviously, for that session. Maybe it's just something to consider. Especially if you know that later on down the line there'll be computers involved in the same session. That's thinking with the old noggin. Or maybe throw in some short-term specialities that will last until the end of the scene or the session. Oh, chapter, I guess, to use in-game terminology. I'm just trying to think of anything else I can think of off the top of my head. I guess if they've got multiple knacks, just change the knack out, although the knacks are down to... I think the intention there is that the players are in charge of what knacks they have because they are intrinsic to the character and the character's heritage, although you could invoke fate... fate binding, obviously, right there, or look at fate binding conditions and see if any of those would apply to the character. After all, the gods don't come down to Earth because their fate will get messed with and they'll change because of it. Also, along that same vein, maybe go with the fate binding stuff. Maybe you, whatever they want to do, rather than a complication. I think if you were to do this, it would probably be worth lowering the difficulty as well. But introduce a story guide character who already has like a level 2 fate binding with them, or even better, has a fate binding not with the player character directly, but with someone important to them, so they keep showing up and being a pain. Not that I'm implying that background characters should be used for emotional blackmail in any way, shape, or form. Does not reflect my opinion on the matter, nor does it reflect on Xpatha's opinion on the matter, because again, I'm a fan. This is unofficial. Please explain fate bindings and how they affect gods. Okay, it'll be just way easier to show you for context. I can't give you complete answers because all the books aren't out yet. But, so we don't know how they'll affect gods. All it says in the books is that the gods don't come down in person because they will have their very essence changed by fate. I assume it's just fate binding to the nth degree. Here, have a PDF. I think it's this window. Hey, it was. I'll go to the sidebar as well. So, fate binding is like a condition that you can apply to a background character, an SGC. It's usually a mortal who is nearby to an event. Let's go. Let's zoom in so you can see the example. Oh, sorry. You magic to send into the future for God. Yeah. If you check out the Monday notes, demigods in production. So there's that. So in this example, two signs, Boyd Calhoun, sign of Sobek, and Henrietta Bell, sign of Hermes, have both triggered a fate binding on a French battlefield in World War II. It's a long story. So they've done something. They've drawn on their legend, and it has triggered fate binding with nearby mortals. So the way it works, it's can be very granular, but never been in production because it really can be. So you can only have fate bindings equal to your legend. So if you're a hero character, it's probably going to be one fate binding at any time. They can only apply to story guide characters, and they can only be fate bound to a higher tier. So if you're a hero, you'll have mortals. If you're a demigod, you'll have mortals and hero level story guide characters. But kind of at base, if you want legend back, you get a fate binding. You draw on your story to replenish your kind of mythical reserves, and someone nearby goes, something has changed in the world, I now like this person, or whatever. Not always like. It also specifically says, don't fate bind other PCs. Fate binding is a condition. Has a strength at the end of... the strength determines how long it lasts, essentially. And comes with a couple of different things, but fate-bound mortals take on the archetypal roles of fictional characters, essentially. So, imperiled, fate-bound characters in danger, apprentice, balm, boon companion, all the way through to I like canary. They're just always in trouble. Straight down to things like paramour, nemesis, rival, unrequited, or jinx. So if you can think of a mythological story that has mortals involved, they probably fulfill one of these fate-binding conditions. So my working assumption is that when you get to higher levels of legend, the binding affects you as well as your legend affecting them. How that would work mechanically, I don't know. We will have to wait and see. Hopefully it's not too long. So that's what Fate Binding is, Black Plague. I hope that was clear enough. I know I got a bit distracted by explaining everything, but there's no table of names. It's like Nemesis, Paramour, Rival, Traitor. That was a weird noise. Worshipper. And now there's a ladder walking past the window. What? Anyway, so that's what Fate Binding is. It's a mechanic to reinforce the fact that your character's actions have weight in the world, and your character will be noticed because they are a scion. So, as I say, you could maybe introduce a level 2 Fate Binding character. If you want to be like, you could succeed at this thing by doing X, but this will happen. Yep, God Fate Bound to a normal human gets one auto success when Fate Bound to the god. It does need tables. It does. Eternity. But that's something that you could... yeah, maybe if you were doing a strength 2 Fate Binding, it would have to be an auto success. But maybe as a strength 1 Fate Binding would work as in place of a complication. There is also the momentum pool, or conversely, add to the tension pool when they do something if you don't add complications. That's a good point. Black Plague / joke if either works. Just trying to think of anything else. Also depends if you're going for Origin or Hero. Obviously, Fate Binding won't really work for an Origin level character. That would probably be more going with the tweaks and the these down here, the minor changes to the character. Giving them a short-term deed could help actually. Because that changes the character's focus and goal in light of what they've had to do to overcome the complication that isn't there anymore. I'm going to go back to the to this. But I hope that gave you some ideas, Kung Fu Fenris, about options that aren't just complications. Just trying to think if there's anything else I can think of. Not really for Origin. Again, for Hero, you've got things like the Virtue Track. I mean, maybe have a penalty to movement dice or defense rolls for some reason, depending on the context, obviously. Oh dear, I hope that wasn't too loud. I know some people don't like liquid splashing. Anyway, so an hour in. Let's keep pushing on. So customer spending power. What I was saying, yes. This, if you were to use this outside of this scene, which I'm going to make these will be in an appendix, so you can use them wherever. Again, if you use proper titling. So if I copy this into Word properly, these should be PDF bookmarks when I assemble the final PDF. I will be using Word, unfortunately, because I don't have anything like InDesign, and Publisher doesn't export PDF bookmarks properly. Or at all, it turns out. So there we go. Right. So spending power. As I say, if you're using this outside of the context and you want to be making this kind of roll, you will have to apply complications or difficulty. Anyway, something else customers do. I want to speak to the manager. Like a basic level understanding of many things, like basic human common sense. I don't need the instructions. So this I would envision as being a technology role or a culture role. I am the manager. Something that would usually require instruction on how to use something or on how to do something properly, that you could feasibly do without the tutorial, maybe. I don't know. It's deliberately vague. Go ahead. I might try and explain all of these. Actually, that is a good point. That one. Let's have some intentions somewhere. I don't need the instructions. Anything which would require a simple tutorial. So there we go. Secondary pool. These would be more complex tasks requiring specialized knowledge. But like, I know something about that. So general knowledge. I know something about that. And other features of everyday life. I guess basic fitness. It's not a terribly evocative name. I'll just put gym membership. So the idea that they can, run a bit and do stuff like that. So if it is needed, it applies. Obviously, things like firearms and close combat or self-defense aren't covered by any of these, although you could obviously make the argument. Anyway, I believe it's 113. Yes, 113. Now it's my time to press the 3 key. Extras, much like the others, I won't give them an enhancement because that's for professionals, but just some kind of narrative flair. Something that the customer can do that the staff can't, for example. Just leave at will. I want to speak to the manage. Can try to intimidate staff. There we go. I like that joke. I'm putting it in and you can't stop. Well, you could stop me. You could tell me not to, but, short of coming here and deleting this document. Okay. We're good. Staff strive to earn a wage. Primary pool will be customer service. Again, this would probably apply to kind of empathy, leadership, maybe integrity. Maybe that kind of thing. Keeping people happy. I guess the disability, sorry. I might struggle to type for a few minutes as my arms refuse to do what I tell them to. You can see my shoulders going. Sorry about that. Let's go with... Let's see what other skills there are. Oh, right. Red tape. Hyphenated. I think that's fine. So, wielding the powers of bureaucracy. Administrative stuff, that kind of thing. Knowing where to look. Secondary pool, this would be kind of hobbies. I'm kind of tempted to reuse I know something about that. Maybe. Maybe not. About directions. A lot of staff will get asked about directions for things nearby, so I know where that is. And I guess I'll be right with you would have similar connotations to the customer is always right. Actually, no, I'll put that. That would be. That's not how you spell that word in the slightest. And then down here it'll be. Related to acting in a stressful situation. Desperation pool, everything else. Health 1, defense 1, initiative 3. And then extras. Break room. Always knows somewhere quiet to hide. / relax. Okay. Technicians. Drive. Let's face it. Probably to fix things. In this context. Completely reductionist. Everything down to basics to fix things. Which their primary pool would also be. You know what? Let's make these a professional as well, to be fair. Let's do it. Let's break the rules that I arbitrarily set to myself just now. 753. Technicians are going to be pretty specialized. They're going to have training. They're not going to be just average person on the street. I can fix it. So I guess that would be convincing people of your abilities on top of actually fixing things, troubleshooting, that kind of thing. Let's also use... What else would there be? Solid academic background. Certificates on the wall. Actually, yeah, here's my ID. Kind of a air of authority. I feel like this might need some explanation. Lends the SGC an air of authority. For leadership, integrity, etc. Man, if I was really nerdy, I'd instead of double asterisks, I'd use double slashes. Like that, but I'm not going to because I'm not that nerdy. Also because it's only just occurred to me. Oh, I'm sorry. That was a loud swallow, according to my levels. Anyway. Secondary pool. So primary, obviously, would be focusing on fixing things and convincing people that you know that you can fix things. Secondary pool. What would that be? Maybe a reputation-based thing? You might have heard of me. Ah, oddly emphatic. You might have heard of me. And so reputation and anything relying on that, and also just getting your name out there, getting people to pay you for work. Health for a professional is 225. Yeah, I'm happy leaving them as a professional. So their extras would be right tool for the job. +1 enhancement to fixing things. There we go. So that's all that done. We happy with this? So buy Scion chosen of Chang'e. Setting internet cafe. Possible store guide characters would include the staff, bored, tired, hungry, with the goals to make money, to make friends, and to pass the time. Customers, angry, excited, addicted, with the goals of to win, to surf the web, to hide their activity, whatever they're doing. Accomplices, worried, nervous, shy, with the goals of to not get caught, to advance in the collective, and to learn. And technicians, frustrated, confused, resigned, the goals of to fix the problem, to leave quickly, to show off. Possible events would include staff can't find something important, or someone asks the staff to help them find something important. Customer has a medical emergency. One of the accomplices succeeds in their task. One of the technicians starts an argument because one of the customers breaks something that's just been fixed. So this is all stuff that can happen in the background while the focus is on buy, and that player can react how they wish to react, can kind of figure out how buy would react to this kind of thing. I mean, you can't see. I don't see why I wouldn't let you see, so let's just do that. I'll leave that in the background. So buy is more focused on subterfuge and tech, and the kind of the more academic side of life, shall we say. Heavily weighted towards the mental arena. So she probably wouldn't necessarily be into helping any of these things, but equally kind of might intercede with the this argument, or obviously one of the accomplices will be doing something that she can intercede with. Okay. But maybe it would be worth getting the player to roll to see if they can find the thing, or kind of like everyone has to stand up and look for the thing because it's really important. I don't know. And kind of you experience that feeling of irritation. These scenes ideally shouldn't be lasting more than 10 minutes anyway, just to keep everything down to a manageable length of time. And if they're new players, it means the spotlight won't be on them for too long, or if they're experienced players who aren't comfortable with the spotlight. And also just in general, having done things like this before, I found 10 minutes works really well, because it gives you enough time to focus the scene, to get something accomplished, and to kind of have that. It's not a hard stop. Obviously, you can overrun. It can be a bit longer. It can be a bit shorter. But to have that limit really does help with the scene not running on for too long, which is always a problem with role-playing games. You could be exploring some cool idea or having a really cool conversation, but the scene just runs on way past the point at which it should have ended, because everyone's enjoying it. But if you are pressed for time, it's not going to be contributing necessarily. Obviously, if you aren't pressed for time, I'm not saying that you should just cut scenes and stop. That's not fun or enjoyable for anyone. But there we go. So we've got 40 minutes. Can probably at least start working on Isabel's SGCs. Isabel's the one I've been having a bit of trouble with. Martinez is fairly obvious. Liam was the character who gave me the idea for this whole thing. I had a really cool idea for his introductory scene. And Michael is very similar to Liam in that it kind of Martinez, sorry, in that it's very kind of easy to fit him in. Isabel's less so. I will also open Isabel's character sheet just so I've got that as a reference. Isabel King. So as I mentioned, Isabel King. Concept, Diamond in the Rough. Isabel is a born son of Heru, or Horus. Background. Growing up on the streets, Isabel was quick to find the power of anonymity, among the lost being her origin path, and swore that she would rise above the buildings towering over her. Through luck and hard work, she managed to scrape together enough to pass her pilot's exam, which those things are expensive, so it's a lot of luck and hard work, and become one of the most reliable pilots on the company's books, with her society path being one with the skies. Again, society is how you define yourself, so that's how she defines herself. In her downtime, she pilots light aircraft for an atmospheric science research project. So her organization path is Lightbringer. For what it's worth, her kind of the way she prioritizes things, she's the pilot first, then she's the research assistant, and then she's the street kid. Her calling is warrior as well, if that bears any resemblance. She's also, I believe, the only one who has a speciality in close combat. It was fairly important for me that none of these characters have training in firearms, just so that if the band playing the game were not in a country with lax firearms regulations, such as the UK, where I live, you could still play it and the characters wouldn't have too much trouble getting all of the efficiency out of their dots. Now, obviously, if you are living in a place where firearm rules and regulations are laxer, or if your characters introduce any SGCs that will allow you, every time I say it, I think it's Stargate Command, will allow you to gain access to firearms relatively easily, of course, by all means, that's what experience is for. But as it stands, I don't believe any of these characters have firearms training. I guess I could have had a soldier, but then they just have the training and nothing to use it for, so who knows. Isabel's specialities are bare knuckle fighting, piloting jets, solar sciences, and atmospheric instrument technologies. Again, successes, they give you an enhancement, if I recall correctly. Pretty sure it's an enhancement and not a die to any skill test that speciality would help with. So I guess science, atmospheric instruments would... doing a science test, kind of reading atmospheric instrumental data, you could have that enhancement to the role from the technology specialty there. Or medicine to treat the results, not that she's trained in medicine, but to treat the results of bare knuckle fighting, for example. So we've got a fundraiser, and we've got an internet cafe. Because obviously you can't really create SGCs and events without the setting. Isabel's the only one with any links to kind of any sciences, particularly. Oh, that is incorrect. Michael is a psychologist or psychiatrist, I can't remember which one, or a counselor. Those are all very slightly different meanings. But I guess she could be at a scientific institute somewhere, in the middle of the city that all of my games invariably get set in. Having a meeting maybe to discuss the next steps of a project. Yeah, I think we'll go with that one. So, So, like many, kind of like a behind the screen, like many GMs and story guides and GMs, I'm lazy. I will reuse locations, characters, and in this instance, companies, so that I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. That's one of the biggest secrets of GMing, is that you never make anything up that you don't have to. Just reuse everything you've got. Anyway, I don't know what happened there. I was, there was some weird whispering happening on the microphone, I guess. I have my own umbrella corporation in Ashworth. It is currently kind of the foreshadowed big bad in my Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle. It features in a Chronicles of Darkness game I never got to run. Anytime I need shady corporation, Ashworth is there for me. And of course, they have multiple divisions. So Ashworth Renewables, project meeting. Let's give this thing a hoity-toity science name. Hell, let's go for Icarus. Ashworth Renewables Icarus project meeting. Let's say Icarus is a project developing be high atmosphere. So in my design notes for this, I might build on this a little bit, give some background to the project, have some, doctors or scientists, associated with it, that kind of thing. But for now, all we need to know is that Icarus is a project developing high atmosphere solar panels and their deployment. Upper atmosphere, sorry. I was originally going to write low orbit, and then realized that a light aircraft would have no business being there, but they could conceivably be deploying stuff for upper atmosphere readings. Conceivably. I know nothing about aeronautics, can you tell? But hey, it's the world with a capital W where things are ever so slightly different, so this kind of thing makes sense. So possible story guides would include scientists. Am I using square brackets for this? I am. Eager. Knowledgeable, which it always looks like it's wrong. Like it's spelled wrong. It's one of those words that just always looks wrong to me, but it isn't. Eager, knowledgeable, and bookish. That doesn't need to be capital B. To be known, to succeed, to create. Journalists. Curious, cynical, and third adjective for journalist SGC. Sure thing. I don't think there's really anyone here anyway, so I'm just filling the air. Curious, cynical, and I can't want to put eager and knowledgeable because, I guess I could. Enthusiastic. Let's go with enthusiastic. I wish 300 people would storm the chat. At the minute, it just feels like I'm wasting Onyx Path's time by doing this. I mean, there wouldn't obviously be anything on anyway, so it's a no-lose situation, but I still feel like I'm wasting everyone's time. Imposter syndrome for the win. Anyway. To report the truth. To cache the next. Thank you. Anyway, I will, let you get on with whatever you were going to be doing. I appreciate the compliment. To cache the next paycheck. Again, I'm obviously English, so I'm using British English spellings for all of these things, and with air quotes, British English uses the singular and American uses the double. Unfortunately, that's something that's going to make it through to the final document. I'm not going to write two versions. To report the truth, to cache the next paycheck, and to find secrets. To find out secrets, I guess, is a better way of putting it. Catering. Confused. Concerned. Distracted. Whoop. To. How best to phrase this? Live up to expectations. To, I guess, put on a good event. And to one sec. Sorry, could feel the sneeze coming on. To live up to expectations, put on a good event, to sneak off as soon as possible. Always have that kind of more negative trait to a character, more negative motivation. Keep everyone on their toes, guessing about, are they on the level? Are they not? Are they using me like I'm using them? That kind of thing. No one is perfect. And contractors. This would be people like Isabel. Bored. Entertained. And observant. To network. To pass the time. Wasn't doing anything better anyway. To get free food. Again, this is just a sample of motives and character traits that the SGC might experience. And that's one of the scientists. One of the journalists. One of the caterers. I know journalist is incorrectly spelled, don't worry. One of the contractors. So kind of the feel here obviously will be dry scientific discourse perhaps, although if it's going to be a scene, it'll have to be a round table. Purpose of this scene is a round table / network event. So one of the scientists is evincing a controversial point of view about something unrelated. No, we'll have something related to the project, related to Project Icarus. Yep. One of the journalists kind of like lean on that stereotype slightly. They're just causing trouble by asking awkward questions. And something that I'll make a note of actually, Where is it? Each scene presents a suggested location. Each can be viewed as the start of a scene with PCs leaving for other locations. So if a PC kind of wants to leave the scene, let them, follow them. The spotlight is on them for whatever they want to do. Again, I'm very much a gem and a story guide, what have you, that will allow the players to do what they want within the freedom that the rules allow. So and like the explicit purpose of these scenes is to get to know the characters, to shine a light on them, and to allow the player to inhabit the character before there are any real stakes involved. So if they want to leave, sure, Isabel can go to a coffee shop or wherever she wants to go. Ask the player what they want to do after leaving. Obviously, if they're new to role playing, it's probably worth being pretty explicit that you don't have to stay here. These are just ideas about things that could happen if the player character stays in this scene. One of the journalists is asking awkward questions about the personal life of one of the scientists. One of the caterers gets caught spiking the food/drink. Maybe there's a bit of a conversation there about what happens and stuff. One of the contractors bored, entertained, or observant. Which to lean into? One of the contractors falls noisily asleep. What the results of this are, that's entirely up to you as the story guide. It is simply something which could happen. So catering, contractor, journalist, scientist. Catering staff. Contractor. Journalist. Again, I think here, not that journalists, contractors, and catering staff aren't highly trained. Obviously, they are. But I think here, as the focus of the scene is on the science to begin with, the scientists will be professionals. Everyone else probably just be a mook. Professional only because this is the focus of the scene. Lower for out. Let's specify low to mook for out of scene interaction. Replace the +1e with XXXXX. That's something to get onto when we get down there. Okay, so let's just do this. Thought I was being really cool earlier by using my prep time to insert the text in advance and then went and changed the text so that it is now no longer applicable. Man, am I an idiot. Did I regret that immediately? It's really cool. I hadn't thought of lowering a character's archetype to end the scene there and change focus to who's in the spotlight scene. Yeah, I'm a big fan of sandbox play. So having a messed that up. I'll sort that out off stream. So having that kind of flexibility to it, it's like up here. I don't know if you were in the stream earlier, Tabletop Archives, so here, customer spending power as just a general dice pool that they have when trying to spend money. They're a mook. You can't really lower them below that point, but depending on context, they might face difficulties and extra difficulty or complications based on what they're trying to buy, which is the more obvious way of doing it. But because, as I said, I prefer sandbox play, I generally find, with the benefit of hindsight, that all my scenes have a focus, whether it's a theme or a character, or in this case, kind of both. So I quickly worked out ways of highlighting that focus in a subtle manner, and then if the focus is no longer on them, just move it. Get rid of what's making them special. So I guess that would apply to any scene. I'm glad you thought it was cool. That's the whole point of this show, is to present ideas that you may not have considered yourself. So these are all mooks anyway, which I believe is 542. Yeah, 542. And definitely, if you do go ahead and do that kind of thing, let me know how it works. Hello, Neon Deflector. How are you doing? Just making some story guide characters using the antagonist design stuff from Scion Origin. I can't mash the down key fast enough. Nope. That's 743. That's the scientist. 753 even. Yeah. Archetype professional. While I'm down here. 225. So are you currently in chat and play Scion? Interested in Scion? Please let me know what your interest is in this stream, and I'll try to be at least mildly entertaining. Organising a broth for a late lunch and feeling blocked in the names bits. Ooh. 1, broth is amazing. 2, that sucks. My sympathies. I think that's something we've all been through. Also, shout-outs to referring to them as nasal bits. I like that. Okay, so catering staff drive to cater. Like, it's kind of in the name. That's the low-hanging fruit, and for once I'm going to go for it. I tried to avoid low-hanging fruit for character motivations, but especially because the focus of the scene isn't the catering staff, and I mean, it's barely the scientists, but sometimes it's okay to go for the obvious solution to a problem, or in this case, just start cheering nasal bits. Yeah, sometimes it's okay to go for that obvious solution, especially when it's a short-term thing. I'm making these stat blocks, and they'll be in the appendix with a couple of design notes here and there, but they're not intended. They're just background color. They're not intended to be, held up to the light or encountered in any meaningful manner. These are just dice pools in case people want to roll dice as this character that they're inhabiting for like 10 minutes at a time. So, question to think about while I'm naming this this dice pool is whether or not the catering staff includes the chefs, or if they're just a company that brings the food from the chef. Something to think about. Artful displays. Like the ghosted model, give them a pain and pleasure to run from. Yeah, that's also perfectly valid. So maximum cap to the tension pool, but the biggest question of your table. I don't believe so. Although, the tension pool is one of those things where you should be spending it pretty regularly. Sorry, I'm just going through the rulebook. I assume it's in story guiding. Actually, it's the Bookmarks, traits, storytelling. You know what? There's an index, which the bookmark doesn't take me to. What other fate bindings says fill the tension pool? Oh, there might be. Or alternatively, that's a holdover from a previous version of the game. They do exist. It's unfortunately stuff that missed errataing for the final download 202. Like there'll be stuff that references injury conditions that don't exist. Please let. Oh right, numlock. Or, for example, it says go to page 202, but that is not where the tension pool stuff is. Well, bother. Where would it be? Am I looking in the wrong book entirely? No zero if don't off med. It's not really derailed. I don't think I'm going to get through everything today anyway, so that's 153 to 154. So like index pages that don't make sense are a thing. Base tension is equal to number of players plus average legend. You get tension points when they overcome a condition or suffer a failure deed. Hey, Augustine said a lot of stuff like that, so I don't think anyone really cares. It doesn't say. Can you think which fate binding references that? Because I would ordinarily just hit up Google, but that's going to derail things too far. I don't mind looking quickly through the rule book to answer a question like that. Not seeing any reference to filling it in Nemesis. Right, if you check and let me know, and then I'll obviously I don't speak for Onyx Path, but I can certainly. Head Nemesis sounds like an RPG set in a boarding school. I would play the hell out of that. Traitor. Fill the tension pool to its maximum value. No, I think that might be that might just be a holdover from older versions. So in Origin, all it says is where most of the rules are kept, like good little rules. Players should always know the total. It just gives you the base tension. And then in addition to base tension, points are added to it whenever they do something. Maybe the intention is that base tension is the full pool, and then you just add to it. But other than that, I don't know. I'm sorry. Unless there's something in Hero that I don't have the time to look at right now. Because as I say, the index bookmark doesn't work in the PDF. But two, the page it says for tension doesn't actually take you anywhere to tension in Hero. It's weird. Oh, maybe. Because it just says tension pool. There we go. For PC creature. Yeah, that's what that says. So I guess the conclusion how we came to, that's fine. No worries. why I'm here. Something that did just occur to me, however. Back to the index. This index link works. Where is 105? Nope. Something you could also, I guess, do is kind of limit it to the same, to momentum. So they just have the same 70. So momentum can hold up to twice the number of players at a time. So if you're not comfortable with the really loose wording of base tension, maybe have that as your max. Although obviously that won't scale the way that using base tension will. But as ever in role playing, the importance is to keep the game going. So house rule, whatever, to keep the game going, and then check later. There's another tip for everyone at home. Anyway, back to the document that you've all been staring at for like 5 minutes now. Artful displays. We'll put it at home in the kitchen, because that would cover the both using kitchen implements to serve food and to make the food, if needs be. The previous headmaster, terrible. That sounds like Candlewick Manor. It's a role-playing game where you play as kids in it, like orphans. Anyway, or doing cookies. Secondary pool for catering staff. Winning smile. This is going back to just customer service. And what skills? Hey, simple premises sometimes give you the best role-playing games. Where's my PDF gone? There's my PDF. What are the skills? I always forget what skills are for some reason. I don't know why. I guess health and safety. That's not... How to... Those were pretty good names. I like those names. How to put this in a suitably suitably international fashion, because obviously there's OSHA and other health and safety guideline bodies. Workplace safe. There we go. Desperation pool. Obviously, there's nothing in that. Health one. Extras. I don't know what word I was going for there, but it wasn't student. Student of gastronomy can detect delicate flavors / scents. So there we go. Again, it's not a professional, but I like having that little narrative flair that can be drawn into play if needs be. The scientists being the professionals, they'll get the +1 enhancement to science. Science! Later on. So, contractor, MOOC. Drive. Again, much like the staff earlier, this is just purely to make money. At a base level, obviously, individual contractors will have their own drives, and the intention with these are to substitute for drives for the characters playing in the scene. I'll make a note of that, actually. Handful of suggested NPCs, complete with individualized drives. Yeah, I say a lot. I'm so sorry. I know it annoys people. The trouble is with the primary pool, it's going to have to be really vague because there's going to be a wide variety of contractors, from pilots like Isabella to technicians and administrators and other people that aren't directly paid by Ashworth but are involved in Project Icarus somehow. So how would I best represent that? I know what I'm doing. Also, they're going to be very, very familiar with paperwork involved in any large-scale project. So signed in triplicate. It's always signed in triplicate when you want to make a joke, isn't it? I guess it's the rule of 3 again. Three's just work for the human brain, I guess. Secondary pool. Sure, I'm interested. Oh, wait, that adds a comma where I don't necessarily want a comma. Of course I'm interested. There we go. So that could be to feign interest or to know a little bit about something if needs be. Just so that everyone in chat is aware, I'll be wrapping up after I finish the contractor. Not that there's anyone on the stream after myself, but I will be going to stream myself, so over on my own channel. Of course I'm interested, and so feigning interest, sorry. Another suitably generic, broad category that you could then read specialization into. I have hobbies too. There we go. All the dice pools are deliberately vague to reflect a wide variety of skill sets. Oh, sorry about yelling into the mic then. Of skill sets. Nope, 2 asterisks. Technically, if you're ignorant, you want to learn about it. True, that would work as well. Not intentionally ignorant. Health, defense, initiative, all the same for the MOOC. Extras. I think just I know a guy works quite well here. I think I'm pretty sure I used it earlier for one of Ash's. I guess it was well connected. -1 C2 social tests. Right, so that's the contractor. So those of you who just kind of come in at the end of this, this is Behind the Screen. It's a content creation stream about GM tips and actually putting them into practice. So I kind of walk you through how I would prepare material. This isn't for a game I'm running. This is going to be a product released on the StoryPath Nexus. But I'm doing it as kind of this is how you do it, this is why you do it, ask away any questions you may have about anything, really. I'll always answer if I can, or kind of try and point you in the right direction if I can't. If you have been interested in however much or little of this you've seen, but you haven't seen the previous episodes, they are bi-weekly, so twice a month, which means that the next one won't be until 12th, 19th? 12th. I can do basic maths until the 12th of November. But next week, either on the 5th or the 6th, this will go up on YouTube in the playlist with the rest of them. They're all up on YouTube to varying degrees of quality. The intention is that this will be the origin, like at the start of an origin chronicle. It'll cover from up to visitation. And then after I finish this, I'll go on to do another Scion. It'll be the same pre-gens, just as heroes. And then I'll go and do something else, maybe Promethean, the created content, maybe just base Chronicles of Darkness. I think Promethean's covered on the community side of things. It'll be probably World of Darkness related in some way, Chronicles of Darkness related in some way. But I'm always happy to answer questions about any games or general role-playing tips. I can be found on Twitter at Comrade Bubbles and on Twitch at Comrade Bubbles, where I stream Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I'll be streaming after this if you want to come and hang out and ask any lingering questions. Again, I say again, if you're here at the end, you haven't heard any of this, but if you are interested in Onyx Path content, I closed the link like a fool. Sure did. Let's see if I can real quick find it for you all. I can't. The Onyx Path release Scion is not a World of Darkness component. It is its own thing. It uses the story path system. I completely forgot the name of the engine. It takes place in its own world. But that's not to say crossover can't happen, obviously. They just have different mechanics, so you'd have to find a way of getting them linked, which is something I'm 100% thinking of doing for the hero as a kind of a way of practicing what I preach about reading other games. Yes, anyway. Monday notes are a weekly thing that just kind of provides us an update for Onyx Path's business. Of note, there's a lot of Scarlands goodness happening right now, and there is a Kickstarter next week for Mummy the Cursed 2nd edition. If you are interested in everything that's come before, so to speak, that is the playlist for all of these episodes on my channel on YouTube. As I said at the start of the stream, I don't know if there's any Onyx Path plans to archive them for there. Probably not. I wouldn't expect them to by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not trying to suggest that they should. So that's where they are. There's the notes. Thank you, Plastic Cage Plays. Very important. I'm going to try to remember to start sharing those every stream, because obviously they're quite important. There is a Discord, the link of which is in the chat, where all of us content creators hang out and stuff, and obviously open to community members. And if you have enjoyed the content, or if you have seen other content on here and you're kind of not sure if you want to spend money on a sub, but you have an Amazon Prime subscription, it does come with a free Twitch Prime subscription. You do have to renew it monthly, but there we go. That costs you no money if you already have Amazon Prime. I think that's my spiel. Are there any lingering questions? I know there's a chat delay, so I'll give it a few seconds of just staring intently at my chat screen while I wait for anyone if they have any lingering questions. But that's my thing. I hope it's been entertaining. Next time we'll finish these stat blocks and get on to hopefully these Liam and Martinez scenes, leaving Michael for the end of November, and now it's going to be really cool, and we'll then be able to make progress on the rest of these scenes. I don't anticipate this stuff taking as long as the introductory scenes, purely because never do that. Purely because this is obviously 6 scenes which I'm populating with characters, whereas this will be one scene with all the PCs involved, with maybe 1 or 2 SGC groups, and maybe 1 or 2 specialized SGCs. So it should be fine. I really still need to start planning this stuff. But that's everything for today. So I hope you've had fun. I hope it's been enjoyable. I'm going to swap back over to the post-roll for a few minutes so that you can check out what other shows we've got on the channel. And until next time, which will be the 12th of November, as far as I'm aware, have a good one.